Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of A Chapter a Day Keeps the Doctor Away. My name is Alan, otherwise known as Hisui, and I'm from ReverseThieves.com, as well as the Speakeasy podcast. And this time I'm looking at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 8, Jojolion, Approaching Objects. And I'd just like to give a little shout out to one Mika Soulstar for leaving a comment on the last episode, saying that they were looking forward to 29 and 30. Sorry it took a while for this one to come out, but my internet was down because of all this weirdness, so I really wasn't able to do any videos for a week. And then I had all the insanity of catching up with the stuff I hadn't done in the week, and so now I'm just getting around to doing like the monthly stuff that I had missed out on, like the 2 JoJo's chapters that came out. So I'm going to try to knock out these JoJo's chapters as soon as possible because I got a lot of recording to do for the podcast that I do because a bunch of shows are ending and new shows are beginning. So I got to do case closed for the stuff that's ending and SWAT reviews for the stuff that's starting up. And then next week is PAX East, so pretty much after Wednesday I'm not going to be doing any reviews as well. So, it's going to be a little crazy. And this weekend, Kate, the person I do the blog and podcast with, her friends are coming up, and we're going to hang out. And we're going to a comic festival. So it's going to be busy. So I'm going to try to get these done whenever I just have a free moment like this. So, anybody who actually, watches these, I really appreciate it. And, I know my schedule's already a little erratic, but it's probably going to be even more so for the next few weeks. So, man, I just wish my internet hadn't gone out when it did. It was like the worst time for Optimum to really just decide to have problems. But everything's back to normal, so let's get the show on the road and talk about approaching objects. And clearly JoJo and Norisuke are in big trouble, but we start with a flashback seeing Norisuke as a kid talking to his mom, hearing rumors that his family is cursed and that, the firstborn son turns to stone and, basically has this horrible disease, and they don't even just turn to stone. They just slowly lose their memory, and then their skin generally hardens, and then they turn into a statue, and, pretty horrible way to go. And his mother is like, oh, don't worry about it, that's just, kids talking about urban legends. And even if it is a disease, diseases always have cures, so don't mind any. But as the reader, we definitely know from the tragic backstory of this series that that boy is not in for a good time. Especially since we see another scene where he has turned to stone. So, boy, the corpse of Jesus is one mean dude when it comes to curses. But we'll talk more about that in the next chapter. For right now, it's bringing back up the disease that it goes after the sons, and that it's for serious. So, Norisuke and JoJo are trying to get, into the cellar, and Tsurugi won't let them in, and, his grandfather is like, come on, let us in, and Tsurugi's like, no way, man, that guy who wants to kill JoJo, he only wants to kill JoJo, so if you just abandon him, everything will be fine. And, I'll get what I need. You'll be safe. And this guy who isn't really part of our family will be dead. So it's all good. And, Ryusuke is like, no, I love you, but, Jojo's a part of our family. You can't abandon him like this. And he tries to use this, and Jojo's like, look, we don't have time to argue with your grandson. Just use your stand to get in there, and, we'll figure out what's going on with him, when we get inside. I mean, if there's somebody threatening him, we can defeat him. If there's, some other bad thing, we can work that out. But if we just stay here, we're not going to have a good time. So Ryusuke is like, all right, fine. And he starts using the stand, but there's a chain lock also been engaged. And he's like, the chain lock's also on. So I could open it up from the inside, but it's going to take me a while to get off the chain lock. And he's like, 1, don't worry, I'll buy you the time. 2, don't just smash it open. We can always replace the chain lock. We can't replace our lives. So, Jojo buys them time by removing the moisture from the chestnuts, so they just kind of disintegrate when they smash into them. And, the ones that are already burrowed in, they can just swat them off as they turn to dust. And of course, that won't last super long. All they really need to do is be touched again, and the objects will go after them again, or maybe some object that he just can't remove the moisture from. So, but they brought themselves enough time to smash open the lock and jump in there. I gotta say, that is a nifty power. It's essentially, you can remove one thing from an object. So you gotta be like, what is the one thing I can remove that will get me where I need to be? And so, I really feel like it's kind of really super powerful. Even Star Platinum has, a range limit and the such. I mean, its last ability to stop time kind of takes it to a whole nother level, but, I mean, there's a reason that he only got that final part at the very end of the story. But I feel like, yeah, this is, really, I don't think it's like, the one guy from JoJo's Part 5 that Araki basically had to write out because he's like, oh my god, this flesh-eating bacteria stand is just too powerful. I just have to write you out because, enemies are too much not a problem. Or basically I have to write every chapter about, it's a new enemy that for some reason can't instantly be defeated by this guy, which you can do for a while, but it really limits, the amount of what kind of bad guys you can send at him. So he's like, I don't know why I give this guy this power. I totally have to have him leave the team, because otherwise, I feel like the current JoJo's stand, if you play him at maximum smart, it feels like 1 or 2 steps below that. Did I make him too powerful? I don't feel it's that way, but man, it does step up to that line. But random musing about JoJo's power levels aside, we find out that Tsurugi, is basically turned against JoJo because Yotsuba has promised him that, I know about that disease that's gonna supposedly kill you. I have a cure. And if you lure out JoJo here, and then let me take care of him. I'll give you the cure. And, not the, goth band, the actual cure to the disease. Because, I don't play wordplays like that. And so, he's like, wait! Yotsuyo Yagiyama? And he's like, yeah, that's the guy. He's like, I know him. And Jojo's like, who? He's the architect I hired to make this house. My mansion. Bum, bum, bum. And then you see a full picture of him. And my only thought was, Norisuke, when you hire a guy who part of his casual clothing attire is wearing full gauntlets, which have spikes coming out of them, you should probably expect, no matter what he charges you, or no matter how good his designs are, that is a HR hiring choice that is going to affect you down the line. It's not going to bite you on the ass today or tomorrow or probably a month from now. But a few years down the line, that is going to be something you're like, was it really the best choice for me to hire this guy? I mean, this other guy did not have as many recommendations, and his designs were a little more pedestrian, but I'm probably not going to have him almost murder someone I adopted. Just, I'm thinking I'll pay a little more. And, people be a little less impressed when I throw barbecues. But, my house won't actually turn out to be a secret death trap that is activated by him 5 years from now. We haven't seen that part where we find out that his house is a secret death trap that is activated, 5 years from his creation. But, considering this guy's general psychological profile, I can't expect that not to happen. And Norisuke should have also thought that. But, so, we know now how this guy is related to, or at least why he is somewhat involved. I'm kind of curious, how involved is he? Once again, I'm thinking this dude is not the mastermind. I'm thinking that he's, at most a henchman, but maybe a lieutenant of the big bad guy, but we'll see about that. I am just curious what his whole deal is. I mean, you would think by, the guy, the surfer guy, that he would have been more important, but he just turned out to kind of be a random guy that was involved in everything. Although now that I think about it, that girl who was also in the house, we have not really seen her again. And I feel like she was not some incidental character. I'm really kind of curious about that other girl in the house that was, in Kira's old house. I really feel like that woman is going to come back into play later on. When we've generally forgotten about her, but when we learn more about Kira, it's going to be like, we should have talked to that woman more when we had the chance. Damn it. But, yeah. Good chapter. Obviously they're not out of the woods. This is just kind of a breather. That guy, obviously, Yagiyami can pop in and out of that cellar, so, they're obviously going to be harried. This is just a little bit of oasis. A bit of time for them to, find out a little more from Tsurugi, take a breather, and then, obviously things will start going wrong again. But, good chapter. Um, if with any luck, I should just have the chapter 30 in right after this. So see you guys, and hopefully, you could just go down and see the next review. All right. So see you in a little bit.